Hello my dears, this is Sarah from SheHoldsDearly.com, and today I'm going to dive back into our Design Styles series, and we're gonna tackle mid-century modern design style. So previously we have covered cottagecore, which was a huge hit. You guys want more of that apparently. And we've covered bohemian. So once we dive deep into a design style, it allows us to break it all down and then understand the details, and we can piece it back together. And that's what we're ultimately going for, is the ability to break down styles and then merge them. So for instance, I just finished the nursing room in our church. You may have seen it, and I combined bohemian with mid-century modern. The rest of the church is mid-century modern, but because it's for women, I wanted some feminine touches and mixed in bohemian. Now, just this last week, I heard a very well-respected designer who I love do a whole talk on how you cannot mix certain styles. Like, the styles have to match. Like, they almost have to be identical. So for instance, Scandinavian with minimalism. You can merge those. I wholeheartedly disagree with her. I think it can be done. It's very advanced and it's difficult in some ways, but if you understand the details of two different styles, you can strategically weave them back together. It's something that I teach in my behind the scenes design group. Okay, so mid-century modern, or people call it MCM if you're super cool, you can throw that around. Mid-century modern is defined as really functional. It's very minimal. It's of course modern. It's been around for like 70 years, holding strong. It's very functional and it does go well with Scandinavian. It's open, it's airy, it's really uncluttered. There's no embellishments. There's no like curvy Queen Anne legs and, you know, extra like appliques on mantles and things. No, this is all business. The furniture is, I think, the easiest to spot. It has just very straight lines, rectangles, squares. The sofa arms are usually boxy, not rounded. And the legs, woo! They do legs well in this design style. So we're gonna delve more into it, but when you see legs on all of the furniture in a place, it's a good chance that we're talking mid-century modern. Very simple legs. It's really my go-to style if I'm working in a masculine space. I'm trying to work with a guy. And I would say it's the easiest style to do. And the reason is because it's so pared down that you're really only needing like 60% of the product that you would use in another, like a traditional style or bohemian style. So it's less product, less styling, and it's oftentimes about what you're not saying. That's what I really like about mid-century modern, is there's these open spaces, air flowing. This bookshelf that I've got here has, the back is open on select shelves, and then there's shelves that are just left empty. You do not load up when you are decorating this style, and I love that. I think that's easy and potentially less expensive. The thing that can go wrong, every style is a double-edged sword, so I love how easy it is and edited, but sometimes it can get so edited that it just looks like a hotel room. So this is an example of a mid-century modern hotel room. There is no life in this space, and so I would come in, I would add some throw pillows, a throw blanket, maybe some vintage books, try to bring in personal touches, bring in texture, bring in nature. All of these things will help it from becoming too sterilized. I also find that mid-century modern is very regional, especially in the States. So I see a lot more mid-century modern on the West Coast, very California-ish, and all the way up into Washington where I'm at, and then not as much on the East Coast, which is heavily influenced by the more European traditional style decorations. So that's kind of interesting. So as far as history, and I really love studying history and watching how interior design is affected by world events. So with COVID, for instance, people were home so much during the lockdowns and things that sales went down a little bit for mid-century modern furniture because, as we'll look at today, the arms are not padded, it's not super cushy, and like you're not gonna fall asleep in most of these chairs I'm gonna show you. So people wanted more of their things around them and they wanted more comfort, and so this style did take a little bit of a hit, although I don't think it's going away. So what really kicked off the craze was right after World War II. So everybody comes home, of course we had our baby boom, and people are thinking about family and functionality. We had a shortage of a lot of the previously used materials, and so designers really went to work just reinventing what you could use to make furniture with. It's so interesting to me. And they wanted it to be inexpensive. So for instance, we have this plywood chair. No one had ever tried that before. So this is when plywood chairs came on the scene. This is the first time we see metal being used as a frame on furniture. So we've got like metal frames with leather combined for this chair. The most famous type of chairs I think are the Eames chairs. That's the name of the designer. So this is a lounge chair. Now that you know what it's called, you'll probably see it often. And you can see how they're incorporating leather and wood together. Then there's the wishbone chairs. There's the fiberglass, that's another material we started using, fiberglass Eames chair. This one's super popular. You see this in restaurants and schools and things all the time. We started using wood veneer, plastic, vinyl. That's when all these types of man-made materials really hit the scene with interior design. And then this is my personal favorite chair, just the basic lounge chair. I love that look. Now that we're really like breaking down chairs, let's go ahead and talk about furniture, just the different genres in the furniture. I really noticed the mid-century modern vibe when I look at credenzas. I think they're so cute to put a TV on, or you could paint the doors a different color or something, but they have the straight lines, very little embellishment, always up on legs. These are called low boys. And then these are the high boys, these are the dressers. And you can see a lot of the drawers are kind of like a waterfall. They're kind of like tipped out or just real simple fronts. And so people like to paint them ombre colors. And that's really cute, especially in a kid's room or a nursery. The only thing is that I find it really hard to paint mid-century pieces because they're usually really nice wood. They'll use walnut or something beautiful. So I tend not to want to paint them. But if you did, you could paint just the doors or the drawer fronts. These are very easy to find on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp. But the problem with it is that everybody knows about it now. So you type in mid-century modern or MCM and it's just like, they're not cheap, they go fast, but they are there and they are cheaper than a lot of brand new retails. Now, tables. This one is one of the most common ones, is the tulip table. And this is a coffee table that I don't use because it's a little too sculptural for me, but it's called the Noguchi table. And that is very iconic for the mid-century look. Here's some end tables. So hopefully you're starting to get a feel for what the lines in furniture are. The legs are a big deal. They were never done like this before, so you'll see a lot of hairpin legs and these peg legs, wooden peg legs, and also with like a gold cap or even like painted gold. This is the couch in the nursing room and that's just painted gold on the legs. Okay, for sofas, again, we mentioned this earlier, but straight lines and the arms especially give it away with just very boxy. And then we've got our peg legs again. Another thing that I noticed with their sofas is that they have the small skinny bolster pillows on the side. That's very mid-century. You see like regular tufting with the buttons, but then you see a lot of channel tufting, and I love channel tufting. So that's when the stitching on the back of the couch or even the seat, but it is in these wide sections, straight lines. Love that look. Like hardly any furniture sat on the floor. Everything was up in the air. And that is actually a really good tip if you're in a small space. Keeping things up off the floor, even if I were just talking about putting legs on a dresser, that helps a space feel bigger than it is because light and air are flowing. I have a whole video on how to design small spaces, and I actually love working in small spaces. It challenges me, and I get to pull out my whole bag of tricks on how to make the place feel cozy and spacious. Okay, beds, really simple. Pretty much no footboards, and we're talking very simple headboards, rectangles, and platform beds, really low to the floor, but we've always got legs. Okay, and then as far as accent pieces, plant stands became very popular, and you can DIY these. There's so many great tutorials on Pinterest about making your own plant stands. Here's some pretty cream ones. I love these concrete ones with the gold. And then always throw in a good bar cart. They're fun, they're funky, they're usually on wheels, and they're just a great little extra piece if you need to like round off a corner or something. Now, as far as walls, they would put wood paneling on the walls, but little strips of wood. It's very mid-century, and you could put it on the ceiling or you could put it on an accent wall. Instant character. And as far as wood tones, you want to stick to medium wood tones. Not too dark, not too light. That's a Scandinavian thing and a traditional thing. Stay in the middle. Anytime you can use a geometric wallpaper, it's great. That always will go with this vibe. Really big, really bold. Artwork, again, is very geometric, very modern. I mean, when you hear modern art, this is the stuff you're gonna think of, and you can totally DIY this stuff. The starburst, they call them sunburst or starburst, became really popular, and you could get them in a mirror or a clock. Okay, and then if you are wanting to bring in more of a mid-century modern vibe in your space, I'm gonna give you what I would say are the top 5 priorities, and I'm gonna put them in order. So the first thing you're gonna go after is your furniture line. So you just can't fake mid-century with the wrong shapes on your furniture. So go for the simple, clean lines, the boxy arms, legs on everything. And then the second thing would be to take a look at your lighting. So they use a lot of gourd style lamps. This is the one that I used in the nursing room at our church. And it just has this, I'm just gonna say a blob at the bottom. But then you can find them where there's like 2 blobs and then 3 blobs. That's very mid-century for lamps. Then for overhead lighting, go with really modern, funky lighting with light bulbs sticking out in different spaces, and IKEA is a great source for that. Add in a wood accent wall. Just buy some little 1x2s, stain them, put them up on the wall, make some geometric art. And lastly, I would just take down your curtains if you can, especially if you have a big picture window, no curtains. That's very indicative of mid-century modern, as they loved the natural light coming in. And if you have privacy issues, you could do curtains, but these are the ones I would suggest. I love pinch pleat curtains. And I always preach that you should have your curtains down to the floor, but that's because I'm more of a vintage traditionalist. If you're gonna do mid-century modern, it's okay to not have them go to the floor. You could go just to the windowsill, or like in this picture, go a little bit below. And then I love either like a funky old, like, you know what I'm talking about, like the granny fabric, like floral. I love that. I think that works really great in this design style. Or something super textured like this. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some of my favorite sources, and we'll start with the high end. This is more like designers furniture, like thousands of dollars. But Article is really good. Design Within Reach is another one. And Design Within Reach will have actual, like, the true pieces that the designer, like authentic pieces that the designer made. If that is important to you, you can find those there. Mid-range prices, you could check for these items on Wayfair, CB2, West Elm. And then low budget would be keep your eyes open when you're in IKEA, when you're in Target. Okay, Target came out with their Project 62 line recently, and I really love it. And it's really good for especially like your decorative pieces. And I heard that it's called Project 62 because Target was started in 1962, which is of course, we were in the height of our mid-century modern. So that line is specifically celebrating that time period. Also, always check Amazon, eBay, Etsy, if you want like an authentic, I don't know, an old radio or record player or something. Those things are on all three of those places. And that wraps it up. So I know we just kind of touched on this style, and in my design group, we go a lot deeper into like how you would do a kitchen in mid-century modern and how to blend styles and things. So if you're interested in joining me for that group, I do a lot more personal one-on-one attention, and we have an awesome community over there. But I'll give you the link for the waitlist, and we'll be opening again in the fall. So I hope you found that helpful. Thank you for watching. If you gained any new knowledge, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe so I can send you more videos on how to make interior design easy. All right, take care. I will see you next week.